All right, Guitar Center, let's see what you got. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So I happened to stumble upon this banner, 10% off used gear on Guitar Center. This is not a sponsored episode, I just thought, hey, can we find a deal? Sometimes GC gets some interesting stuff. But if you're curious what the cheapest item is within the Gibson territory that we'll be looking at today, it's one of these Firebrand Zeros that appears to be in the ebony finish. But now let's get into what stood out to me. About 2 years ago, Guitar Center had a limited edition Dark series with the Les Paul and the SG. I thought this was an okay price after you take your 10% off. These were like $1,600 brand new, and I'm sure if they were out today, they'd probably be about $2,000. They were all blacked out essentially. You got your black chrome hardware, you've got the black pearloid inlay, so it just kind of looks like they're not even there. And then they also sprayed over the Gibson logo to give it a dark hue. I think the SGs look pretty good. There's also the Les Paul Studio version of that. This one I had to click on because that is not the right title. 58 reissue Les Paul Jr. VOS? No, that's a Les Paul Double Cut Studio. Don't get me wrong, they're good guitars. It's just not VOS or any of that stuff. I haven't reviewed one yet, but they're kind of cool with their wrap tail piece. Thankfully, they've probably got the year right and it is priced appropriately. Along similar terms, they have a 91 Studio, so that'd be about $1,100 after your discount. Pretty fair for one of these. The thing to know about the early 90s Studios is the fact that they have ebony fretboards. Makes them feel great, in my opinion. If you're looking for one good Les Paul that you can use throughout your entire life, it's one of these. Fair price if it comes with a good case. Over the past 3 Guitar Center Hunt episodes, looks like this one's finally come down in price, and now we're gonna get 10% off on that. It's an okay price if you want one of these. It's a reissue of the 70s, except for this one is wired very differently. And naturally, I had to click on this one because they called it a 70s Sonex. These didn't come out till 1980. With discount, it's $900. I mean, depending on the Sonex model. It's just the base level Deluxe, so you don't have the dirty fingers pickups. It's the velvet brick, so not as desirable. However, this is the slightly more rare blue finish, which you do not see available every single day. But why has it got a black neck? And then this one definitely caught my attention. Used Gibson SG solid body. Nope, somebody made a mistake there, but that Carvin looks fantastic. I love the inlays. Kind of reminds me of a The Les Paul, especially with our brass nut. You've got some exceptional figuring around here. Crazy pickups and lots of options. And an interesting bridge design that has the bridge and tailpiece kind of combined into one. And it's a set neck guitar. I mean, that looks like a lot of fun for the money. So apparently this is a Carvin DC 160. Those are like $1,500 to $3,000 guitars. Fully understand why. Those things are gorgeous. So I added it to my cart because that's how they show you the serial number, and it looks like it's pulling up a Gibson style serial. So I let curiosity get the best of me. I called them up. They do have that Carvin is $21.99. If you buy that, you will end up getting a Gibson SG. Another really bizarre one was this 07 67 style Flying V. They had it listed at $1,500. However, this thing has been heavily modified. At first I thought this was a triple humbucker, but no, they just put a single coil in the center there. They gave it a Stratocaster style output jack, so they don't have to worry about the straight in front jack. We've got master volume, master tone, maybe a coil splitter, and then they put the Strat style blade switch. Okay, that's a whole mirror pickguard in case you didn't notice. But now I'm curious about this fretboard, because usually when you convert a dot inlaid fretboard, your 12th fret becomes obnoxious because you can see the filled in areas of the two offset circles, but I'm not seeing that potential. They've replaced the entire fretboard, or maybe those are stickers, or maybe they did some other fancy woodworking to make it not as noticeable. Those look like real mother of pearl block inlays to me. And it appears we've got some locking Spurzle tuners, and that's all we have to go off of. If you're interested in that one, I would highly suggest getting some more photos. I also saw one, the N225s, not a highly popular model, but they aren't always readily available on Reverb, and sometimes people try to ask like $2,500 for them. I do have a review and documentation if you're interested. Basically, it's the evolution of the Nighthawk model. It was a relatively inexpensive Gibson USA production, but you got the custom elements with your block inlays, fancy inlays on the headstock, P90 Dirty Fingers humbucker combination. It wasn't my favorite guitar, but they're kind of interesting as you're learning about all the Gibson models that have been created. There was a fair price on one of the 92 Studio Lites. It's about $1,200. These things have the chromite bodies, so they're chambered out mahogany, but they fill it in with balsa wood essentially, so it's still solid guitar that's been weight relieved. But they normally put pretty nice maple tops on these, even if they are multi-pieced. And you've got the stock uncovered pickups with the ebony fretboards again. This whole delamination weathering effect is pretty common to find on the headstock. That is not reflecting light. I had to click on this 02 standard because I was like, does it only have one pickup? It just looks like they were trying to give the illusion that it only has one because they blacked that out to make it hide. Honestly, this thing looks a lot older than it actually is. Looks like they've got one of those string butlers on it. And whoa, is that the right tag? $12.99? Yeah, apparently. What's wrong with it? Headstock repair and a repaint. Could make for a fun project for someone. But now I know we looked at this before, but it looks like the price has dropped and we get 10% off of that. This is a pretty rare version of a Gibson Firebrand. It was a custom shop edition, meaning it was a limited edition of some sort. It appears to have the candy apple red finish. It's got the flip out winding tuners. It's got the reissue style knobs. It has a harmonica bridge. Some of the later production ones did. We've got the Tim Shaw PAFs, this time with gold covers. I mean, this is what a normal the Paul sells for, so obviously there's something wrong. If you happen to have missed the last episodes, it's cracked. And apparently in transit to them, it just got really beat up and they had to reglue it, which is so unfortunate because this is a relatively rare version of the Paul. But I did the math of the part out value of everything, the husk and these rare parts. Might seem crazy to pay that for a repaired the Paul, but yeah, I had to buy that one. Unfortunately, probably be a review and document and then unceremoniously part out its stuff, but it's gonna make a great project for someone. I also wanted to bring up those Silverburst Customs again. If you were thinking about these, unfortunately the 10% off maxes out at $500, but it still drops down the price on a few of these, which honestly I thought were relatively clean. They had like 3 or 4 of them. I mean, this has got the flip out winding tuners, that makes it cool. Somebody's stolen our posi lock buttons, unfortunately. But nice, it has the 3.2 pneumatic bridge. Here's a different one at $74. So yeah, around $6,900. Already 8% price cut. Yeah, I would say this is the one you want. Doesn't have our special bridge. It has Schallers on it, but that thing's looking really clean. Shocked to see a double neck at Guitar Center. They don't have those too often. This is a used 08. It'd be $6,000 after your discount. Has the COA even. There's a 54 reissue. This would be about $5,500 after your discount, which, I mean, that's about what they go for. It's not a steal by any means, but you can't always find these on the market. And judging by that medallion, that's actually a fairly newer one. And the prices on the Artisans are starting to come down a little bit. So here's a 1980 in the Tobacco Sunburst. Tobacco Sunburst 2 pickup version is rare, but not quite as desirable. But it looks like missing switch tip. Everything's looking relatively okay otherwise. That one's from 1980, so you can get that one down to about $5,000. If it was all original, that wouldn't be that bad of a price. Now we've got another one with tiny photos, that'd be $5,000 as well. Almost looks black. Ebony Artisans do exist. They're actually pretty rare and people like them because it's like a 3 pickup black beauty but with all the fancy stuff. But if the seller has terrible photos and you want to know, hope and pray they have a photo of the back. If the neck or the back is a natural color, that means it is not factory ebony. So this tells me it's a dark walnut. That could be a fair price if you call them up. Here's a 2 pickup Artisan, a little over $4,000 if you don't mind some modifications. Sadly, these pickups don't last that long, but that's got a good color and good wood grain to it. It had one of these crazy Johnny A signatures. I definitely need to check one of these out one day. The F-holes look extremely strange from this particular angle with the shadows. And I needed to take a closer look at this, so Maple Fretboard 78 Les Paul Custom. I see these get talked about all the time as rare maple neck Les Paul, but Gibsons from approximately mid-1975 through about 1982-ish all had maple necks. This is the maple fretboard variation. That's what makes these things special. I think the earliest you can find Les Paul Customs like this is 1974, and that's very rare. They become a little bit more commonplace in the late 70s, 76 to 79, and then in the 80s, it's pretty sporadic. 80, 81, sure, you'll see it, but then they kind of drop off for a couple of years, and you can find a few like 85s, 86, maybe an early 87, and then after that you don't really see that come back until like the 2011-ish era because of the whole Rich Light fiasco and whatnot. Those are just rough dates to get you started. I'm still looking for a clean one that doesn't have the fretboard wear, but otherwise the plastics and everything look okay. Man, these photos hurt my eyes. It's so saturated. After your discount, that's down to $45. I mean, if those are the original pickups, that is a fair pickup for someone. Now there's a 3 pickup Supreme. I was so upset I missed one of these on Reverb recently. It was a very fair price. That's got a pretty nice top. It's one of those limited edition Supremes. What makes this one special is the fact it's got the middle pickup. This one is at $45, which is about what those go for. But this one was listed as a Heritage 80 series. We've got reviews and demos if you need to learn more about those. One of those really nice plain tops. Looks like most of the original stuff minus our strap button. Definitely has some use on the back. And yeah, that is one of the later ones. Looks like replaced tuners. There's a 20th anniversary custom. It's not the worst price we've seen on them. And whoa, is that a two-piece top? That's fairly uncommon in that era, but usually the tops aren't so plain. Replace knobs, they're all cracked up. It does have the inlay. Back is looking right. Looks like maybe some wear on your neck. And if you're scared off by that headstock having like a giant hole in it, that is when they were transitioning into using the decals. So the machine that they used to stamp it was kind of in like a prototypical phase. Occasionally you do find that big oval impression on the back of the very early decal serial number guitars. So ask a couple of questions and yeah, that's actually a pretty nice find. There's one of those candy apple red 82 standards. There's a Goldtop Les Paul standard. You don't see these every day, but that is still priced very high. Besides the interesting Goldtop, you've got real mother-of-pearl inlays, which most standards do not have. There's a Cherry Sunburst 85 custom, about $36. That seems pretty fair. 83 standard, nice, with some greening on the side. I know a lot of guys like to look for that real relic vibe. You don't find the Goldtops aging like that as often in the 80s. This one had to be clicked on because 68 330. That has apparently had quite some modifications, so we had a couple of capped off mini toggle holes or something would be my guess. Middle P90 still kept the chrome cover, so that's cool. The fun thing is, if those are indeed holes and you can uncap them, now you don't have to be the guy who does it. You can just reap the benefits of having some additional fancy electronics. This was pretty cool to see. Zoot Suit Les Paul. These things out of nowhere shot up exponentially in value, and some of them were selling at unprecedented amounts. But it seems the market for these has really cooled off lately. You'd be waiting 6 months for a Zoot Suit Les Paul to show up. But now if you go to Reverb, you've got your pick of 4 Les Pauls and there's just a whole bunch of SGs. Trust me guys, Zoot Suit SGs are a lot of fun in the $2,000 to $3,000 range. They're more so a novelty item, in my opinion. I honestly don't like the way they sound or feel. The Les Paul, on the other hand, I do like the P90 humbucker combination. It's not every day when Guitar Center has the absolute best price. That's $2,700. Now, of course, we need to look at our condition. So far, it looks okay. The coloring on all of them slightly varies. For example, not all the Les Pauls have the additional color showing right there. Some are a little bit more minor, some are more extreme. That one's pretty far out there. And they also have a Zoot Suit SG. This one's at $3,000. I was surprised to see this in Guitar Center's inventory. We did a rocker knot on this a long time ago. So somebody took one of these Zoots and they either glued things on it or they carved it out. I mean, this is supposed to be like rhinestone type things. I think it sparkles. Like it sat on Reverb for a long time. And then he eventually started cutting the price so much that apparently Guitar Center bought it from him. I mean, if you want a Zoot Suit for collectability, do not buy this one. One of those ones people might talk about in the future. Oh, do you remember that crazy one? Just like there's a Spotlight Special out there that somebody refinished into Cherry Sunburst. I'll remember that one because it's unique, even if not stock. This was another Guitar Center exclusive, about $2,700 after your discount. Kind of hard to see, but it's one of the blood red ones. We've documented it. For a while, these were actually selling at quite a premium. This Blood Moon is a slightly better deal, especially after your discount. Then here's the V. Unfortunately, our pickups have been replaced. It's been cailered. Oh man, that's unfortunate. We were just talking a couple episodes ago how the original stop bar tailpiece are so far back because they didn't want to be hugging this knob. But to install the cailer on it, they had to put them where they normally go and leave those exposed. That's hilarious. This 2014 Premium Plus has a cool top. Darker than usual. It's almost like a Cherry Sunburst over a Goldtop. Not saying that's what it is, but certainly cool. This one was just labeled as a Les Paul Standard. Pretty sure it's one of the raw powers. That appears to be a satin finish, natural color. Actually looks pretty good. One of the Guitar of the Week RD standards. This one was tempting, but somebody swapped it out for EMG pickups. This classic rock top is starting to come down in price, so now you can get it for like, what, 18? Definitely getting towards the territory that this will start to sell. It's a unique piece, not for everyone. Here's a fair price on one of the 2018 classics in the blue finish. Think of this as a 50s P90 standard, but before that came out. That's why I say, 1600-ish, not too bad. They have a Firebrand SG. Not going to say it's a steal of a deal, but finding ones actually branded just SG Firebrand, they're not always available. And that one's got the nice M6 Schaller tuners. This 2019 Traditional, I have a feeling these could become collectible in the future. Not crazily, but as far as we're aware, the Traditional is officially gone. And 2019 was the last production year of these because then they switched into the 50s, 60s standards. And they're very similar guitars, but it's the last time Traditional was used for the foreseeable future. This one's kind of a deal if you wanted one of those new custom color series white tops. Those are what, $2,800 new, so take your discount out, you're about $21. There were a couple of good deals on R9s if you're in the market. I mean, that's not a shabby top. And after discount, you're at $4,800. That is a good deal when they're $6,700 new. And man, you don't want to pass up this top on this 59. And write me down for that one, my friends. $4,500, I'll take it. But if you prefer the 60s neck, this one's great. So it'd be $4,500 after discount. That's a nice top. This is a bad photo and you can still tell how good that top will be. Judging by our medallion, that is an older one, if that matters to you. 2013, if we can believe our title. You don't find many of these tribute studios out there. I think they're a lot of fun for around $800. Get the P90 pickups on a studio. But if you have to have rosewood fretboards, be careful. Certain runs had like the Granadillo, baked maple. It just kind of varies. But I always think they're a lot of fun anyways. And if that one's not your color style, check this one out. If you like the satin finishes, this is one I would suggest. I love that color. That's a great player's guitar right there. Oh, and if P90s aren't your style, there were also humbucker versions depending on the year, as well as mini hummers. So here's one of the 70s tribute ones. It's got the mini humbuckers, but if you don't like that, you can always swap in P90s. This seemed like a pretty good deal on a custom shop 67 Flying V. It'd be about $3,200 after discount. If you'd rather have the interestingly named Junior Special Plus, man, I'm glad we don't have bad names like that anymore. But you could pick up this beauty. Custom Color R7, that's a nice blue top with our natural back, but unfortunately the custom color series has kind of ruined the color top natural back custom shops for me because it's like, well, now there's a different option for you out there. A Mod Shop white Les Paul custom made its way in here. Looks like they just swapped out our pickups. Now this one I had to click on because that looks blue to me. And by golly it is. Is that what I've been looking for? Well, not exactly. I've been looking for the purple gem series BB King Lucille. That's the one I'll keep in my collection. That's just such a good color on a Lucille. But blue, that's equally as good. In my opinion, blue, green, and purple, those are the ones you want out of that run. However, I feel lime green is the most ridiculous color to put on a Lucille, so maybe that's my #1 pick. And the great thing is they were all BB approved. They definitely need to update the title on that one, and I bet they'll sell it. And then lastly, one of the limited edition 50th anniversary 2010 Les Pauls. Overall, we found a mislisted Carvin, an interesting 2-piece top 75 custom, an okay price on a Zoot, and an interesting blue Lucille. That's just the Gibson stuff that stood out to me. They've got other stuff in it too. Again, not sponsored, just checking it out. I thought it was fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.